With over 1 million professional members, the Internet Marketing Association is a force to be reckoned with. This is I Am a Leader, the official podcast of the world's largest association of Internet marketers. Join Dominic Sirianni, CMO, as he sits down with inspirational leaders, delves into the research lab, shares career opportunities from IMA partners like Microsoft, Oracle, and Adobe, and gives you the insights you need to perform at your best. Here's your host, Dominic Sirianni.
Hello, IMA, and welcome to episode number 40. That's 40 of I Am a Leader. This episode is actually a continuation of episode 39. We're talking with Nick Bell, the Senior Director of Corporate Marketing for the Oracle Marketing Cloud. So, Nick, it's been a matter of seconds for you and me, but a whole week or more has passed for our listeners. So why don't you say something futuristic for us? Any predictions of what life is going to be like 7 days from today?
Well, hopefully we'll still be alive. So that'll be my first prediction. And I predict that I will actually be in London. So
that's right. I forgot you're headed overseas. What brings you over to London?
Well, we have two major customer conferences every year called Modern Marketing Experience, and we have one in the U.S. in North America, and that was in Vegas back in April, and then we have one in the fall in Europe, and this year it's going to be in London on November 17th and 18th, and so I'm going over there to talk with our production company about messaging and how we're going to produce this, and meet with a lot of the folks in our London office who are involved in a very big conference. It's no small undertaking, so it's a kind of a prep meeting and messaging meeting for our upcoming conference in the fall, and hopefully get out and see a few friends over there, and it's been a while since I've been in London and take a little time. So looking forward to it.
Sounds exciting. IMA members, if you haven't listened to episode 39, you need to do that. Press pause, go back an episode, listen to it, then come right back here. In light of the fact, Nick, that some people probably didn't do that, why don't we start today with you giving just a very brief overview of the Oracle Marketing Cloud, what you guys do up there?
Sure. In the brief form, I came on with it. I helped, was one of the first folks that came in to form what Oracle calls the Oracle Marketing Cloud. That's when they purchased Eloqua marketing automation software 3 years ago. Since then, Oracle has invested about $5 billion to bring in all types of marketing components, from content marketing. Data is a huge component, of course, our data management platform. And Responses, which was B2C marketing. And we put this together with some of Oracle's existing products in the social, e-commerce, and web content management world to form the Oracle Marketing Cloud. So it's, in essence, it's a suite of marketing applications that helps the CMO run marketing and prove value and ROI to the marketing spend.
And your role specifically at the OMC is what?
My role is Senior Director of Corporate Marketing. And so that ambiguous title means that I oversee things such as thought leadership content, positioning for Oracle Marketing Cloud, our web strategy, content marketing that drives all of our outbound marketing programs, brand and creative of our sub-brand and how that relates to our mother brand of Oracle, and social.
Wonderful. Well, you have an incredible presentation. I'm excited to see it, partially because of its content, and I'll be honest, partially because of its title. So remind everybody what it is you're going to be talking about today.
I'm talking today about a positioning that we have at Oracle Marketing Cloud that we call the CMO dilemma. And for those of us who have been in marketing for any length of time and came up through a side of the house that was all about brand building, all about the creative product, working with ad agencies to create that unique brand and that unique message, that's great. And that is a fundamental component of marketing. You know, the big idea is still the basis, I believe, of good marketing. Then you have, the reason why I'm at Oracle and why Oracle is selling marketing technology. You have the ability today as a marketer to prove real value to the organization, to go to the board and say, the money that you're giving me to spend in marketing is getting this X amount of return. That's great because it now means marketing isn't just an expense line on the budget sheet, but it creates huge demands on marketing, and frankly, we think kind of a dilemma for today's marketer.
Well, that dilemma, I think, is something that invokes a lot of pain on the part of marketers everywhere. Having two masters is never fun.
That's right.
So with that, Nick, I'm going to take a back seat and give you the chance to present for love or money.
Great. Thank you, Dom. So I want to start with the fact that if you're sitting there and you think everybody has a moment of truth, we have a moment of truth in time where we have to face something. And for the marketer, that moment of truth comes about every 3 months when you or someone that you may report to has to go in with the CEO or to the CEO to the boardroom and report results. This is something that wasn't done very long ago as a marketer, but it's something that is basically becoming mandatory today. The trouble is that it's sometimes hard to predict exactly how that moment's going to go, because there's a natural tension that all marketing executives get caught between, the all too common conflict between focusing on the near-term numbers that the board requires and that they need to see every 3 months, and the relationships that we want to build with customers. And the heart of good marketing, as we know, is the ability to create that long-term customer advocacy type of relationship. And we all know the questions the marketer has running around inside your head as you walk into this meeting. Like, how do I show the value of marketing to these people? How do I move from being seen as a cost center to being seen as a profit center? Age-old questions that we have to face. How do I show them I'm driving revenues and not just creating a great brand? How can I get more budget to fund the kinds of programs and staffing models I know will drive success? And how can I show that my team and I are taking full advantage of the latest marketing technologies to drive the results they expect? Not easy questions. And we all know the sort of time pressure the marketer's under. Your clock is ticking. It's every 3 months that you have to be able to go in and answer these questions. Boards are looking for results now and not later. They know that Wall Street is looking, and they have to be able to tell Wall Street what they're doing to drive revenue. But you as a marketer aspire to do more than simply hit the near-term number, even though you're now having to go in and report numbers and show what ROI is being provided by your spend. You really aspire to build something lasting, something with impact, and something that matters. Again, back to the great creative basis, the big idea of marketing. And when you walk into that boardroom, you carry with those higher aspirations, such as building a brand that lasts, growing long-term relationships with those customers, running truly amazing, award-winning marketing programs, and becoming a trusted advisor to the board. Holding on to those longer-term aspirations is hard because in addition to trying to hit your near-term numbers, you're also constantly bombarded with the message that everything in marketing has changed and that you have to become a full-time technology expert just to keep up. You know, we hear it every day. Technology has disrupted the world of marketing. Everything in marketing has changed. The traditional CMO role is becoming obsolete. Marketing needs to completely rethink itself. Oh yes, and the latest content, the latest technology, bells and whistles provide the latest answers and the greatest answers to marketing that marketing seeks. At least that's what you could easily be led to believe by the deafening hype around the changes impacting marketing. And frankly, all marketing vendors are talking this way. And frankly, my company isn't unique in also doing that. But while the world in which marketing and every other business function now operates is constantly changing, it's very important to remember that a lot of things that people are talking about were not, in fact, brought to bear yesterday. We weren't born yesterday, that they're not necessarily new. Because if you think about it, the need to be customer-centric is not new. Marketing's responsibility to drive growth is not new. The need to optimize our content is not new. The need for you as a marketer to apply technology intelligently is certainly not new. The need to drive insights from data is not new. And the need to prove marketing's value and ROI is kind of as old as the hills. So that certainly isn't new. But what is new is the realization that the real problem that we as marketers face isn't all about technology. It's about conflicting and rapidly shifting expectations between Wall Street on the one hand and Main Street, in effect, on the other hand, and how marketing can balance those pressures quarter over quarter. Not an easy task. So what's really driving all the tension and confusion for marketers today is really the skyrocketing and seemingly conflicting expectations between Main Street and Wall Street. On the one hand, boardroom expectations around financial performance have never been higher, and they need good results to report now. On the other hand, customers expect amazing breakthrough experiences and a long-term commitment to understanding them. Their requirements have gone through the roof. Stuck in an apparent catch-22, many marketers default to addressing one constituency at the expense of the other. And in the process of doing so, they fail to live up to their full potential on either front at a time when the stakes are so high and there's no middle ground. Brands today are either disruptors or they're disrupted. They're either growing or they're shrinking. And here's what CMOs and marketers are up against. The board demands revenue growth, profit growth, predictable performance quarter over quarter. In an era of continual disruption for brands, there is less forgiveness than ever for poor performances or missed earnings. And this requires us to exhibit near-term thinking around financial performance that can force batch and blast marketing style tactics and a left brain focus on analytics and number crunching and serious measurement acumen to prove marketing's value to the board. I love to say at the beginning of a quarter, you are thinking about customer relationships and how can I make brand advocates out of my customers, repeat purchase and loyalty building and communicating at a time when the customer needs to hear from me and wants to hear from me. Quarter goes by, end of the quarter, suddenly the CFO calls and says, we're short on revenue. We've got to meet an expectation today. What can you do to get an additional X amount of money to the bottom line? And suddenly all of this wonderful customer building idea, relationship building ideas go out the door, and you're doing batch and blast marketing in order to help make that number. Obvious conflict here. So on the one hand, we said, we have such requirements by Wall Street to meet our numbers. On the other hand, consumers have an entirely different set of demands. Never before have we had the type of personalization demands, the hyper-customization and dazzling digital experiences that we're required to do to meet customer expectations. They want their brands to know them and to meet their expectations, even if they don't even tell you what those expectations are. They expect you to know that. And before they give you the sell, they demand you give them the service. This requires long-term thinking around the customer relationship. It requires a right brain focus on customer behavior and how to delight your customer, and serious creative genius to captivate customers and keep them engaged over the long haul. This is the balancing act we should be focused on. It's hard, and it isn't made any easier by all the hype that we keep hearing out there around marketing. I'd like to spend a couple minutes on this idea of hype because I think this illustrates a lot of the confusion in the marketplace today, a lot of confusion around the concept of marketing clouds and marketing technology driving ROI, but at the same time, the marketer having to deal with the expectations of demanding customers today. A lot of false promises and hype are just making this balancing act even harder. As inconvenient as it might be to vendors looking to sell their latest solutions, the truth is that marketing success it's not secured by simply managing the customer journey as we have been told, having the most technology, or even having the most digital marketing experience for the customer or expertise, or even having the most sophisticated customer-centric data repository. So let's take a look at some of the least helpful myths out there. Number one I want to talk about is this idea of the customer journey. We hear it every day. It's all about the customer journey, managing the customer journey. Do we manage it? Do we go along with the customer? Is the customer in control of this journey? Well, I'd like to say that what we call the customer journey really is a myth. It's something I refer to as kind of the yellow brick road myth. It sounds great. You get that customer on that yellow brick road, and suddenly you've got an advocate at the end of that. It's not that easy. And in reality, that road represents the vendor's journey through their entire product portfolio and does not represent the reality of how a person interacts with a brand. It's an unhelpful fairy tale, frankly, that does not have a happy ending if you believe that it's as easy as a linear journey for customer success. Number two, we've all heard that big data solves it all. And frankly, I think the word data often makes a marketer cower, because marketers didn't grow up in a world of data and analytics, but we know that it's extremely important today. But we're told that big data is going to solve it all. But the truth is, most marketers are actually drowning in data. There is so much data available today. You've all heard statistics of the overwhelming amount of data that continues to come into play, that continues to be made available to the marketer, and that's one of the reasons we find it so daunting. But what we don't need more data. We don't need more big data. What we need are really needles of insight coming from this huge haystack of data. What you as a marketer need, you need the insight into what customers are doing now, why they're doing what they're doing, the best way to change what they're doing. Having more stacks of data bales of hay, in essence, doesn't help, and trying to scoop them all into one master hay pile doesn't always help either. We've gotten onto this idea that it all has to be collected into a repository and build that one profile of each customer just really isn't practical. What matters is that elusive needles of insight in this huge haystack of data, that's what's going to drive your relationships, your reputations, and your revenues. It's not the huge data repository. And data works very differently than we used to think of it working. Myth number 3, pretty content is king. We've also heard that upgrading our approach to content marketing is mission critical. I talked about this in my previous segment a little bit, this idea of content marketing. And that if marketing can just crack that code on gorgeous content creation, we're set. Well, cool creative, beautiful website, a decent blog that does not mean that you have good content strategy. That requires an omni-channel approach, what we call an orchestrated approach to content that engages customers with a compelling experience across multiple touch points. Number 4, more technology. Now, this might be a little ironic. I work for Oracle, one of the biggest technology vendors in the world, and we certainly sell a lot of technology. But all the marketing technology you need might sound like a solution, but frankly, bells, whistles, and shiny new technology toys are exactly what most marketers don't need as they increase boardroom expectations while simultaneously wasting time and budgets and resources. What marketers really need is a way to utilize and maximize the technology they already have. This is extremely difficult. We've seen the landscape of marketing technologies available today, and it's in the thousands of applications. It's mind-boggling the amount of technology available. But I think we get caught up in this myth of we need more technology, when in essence what we need is to utilize the technology already at hand. So it's time to ditch this marketing BS and a lot of this hype and embrace what we call a shift in thinking. The incredible complexity of balancing these expectations between Wall Street and Main Street, this are you going for love, are you going for money, is only going to increase for marketing as the expectations of the boardroom and consumer expectations continue to skyrocket. So now I want to ask, I love a little bit of the what if. What if you could balance the needs of both groups while moving into this new world order at your own pace? What if you didn't have to navigate technology complexity? I mean, what a beautiful thing for a marketer. What if you didn't have to worry about the technologies that your competitors are using, or even understand marketing technologies in order to take advantage of them? Or think about, uh-oh, do I have to buy this because my competitor just bought it, and if I don't buy it, I'm going to get left behind? What if you could quickly and easily share real business results by spending less time shoveling through these haystacks of data and more time finding the needles of insight that are really going to drive your marketing? What if we could clear the air of all this marketing BS that we keep hearing and a lot of us are spewing out there, so that marketing could focus on achieving full business and creative potential and simply do real marketing for real people? So to make a few of those what ifs come to light and hopefully come true for you, there are a few questions that we recommend marketers ask their marketing platform vendors, from Oracle, Adobe, people, whomever. We're right in there with them. Things that you should ask your marketing platform vendors to help you choose wisely. Because the right solution can, in fact, help you bridge the gap between meeting the demands of Wall Street on the one hand and meeting the demands of your customers out there on Main Street on the other. At Oracle Marketing Cloud, we've taken these questions to heart as we built what we consider one of the best open platform solution suites out there over the last several years, that began with the Eloqua acquisition. But some of the questions we think you need to ask are, does the solution connect disparate interactions to individual customers? So are all of these actions being taken? Are they being connected to your particular customer so that you know what they're doing, when they're doing it, and then how to respond? Can the solution you're looking at from various vendors adapt marketing activities to real-time customer behaviors and adjust the experience in real time This is critical because if you're going to meet the demands of your consumers today, your customers today, with this idea of dazzling digital experiences, especially digital in this world of digital marketing, you have to be able to react in real time to what they're doing, where they're doing it, whether it's online, offline, in store, what have you. That's critical. Will the solution help align content to key inflection points throughout the customer lifecycle? In other words, can marketing evolve at its own pace? And does the solution empower marketers, empower you to leverage innovation as it happens? This is also critical. This is the idea that, I'm constantly having to worry about the latest technology, the latest email I get on something brand new, the latest phone call I'm getting, that here's the answer that I need to make marketing effective. It's a constant barrage. And even though I work for Marketing Cloud and we sell a lot of technology, I get bombarded by the same vendors that our customers do for marketing technology. So it's important that you don't really have to spend the majority of your day thinking about it, that you have a technology ecosystem that you can draw on when you need to, not when the customer or when your competition is and you think you have to respond. So if you ask yourself these questions, we think it's critical to do so in choosing the right vendors, the right technologies, in order to balance that dilemma of satisfying your boardroom, but yet satisfying your ever-demanding customers. So that back to that moment of truth, when you as a marketer or somebody that you support in marketing has to go and present their findings to the board, if you think about it with a more intelligent approach to what marketing technology can do and what it can't do, because that's very important. It's not going to solve all of your problems. And with a smarter focus on how to bridge near-term, long-term pressures, this moment of truth can become really more a moment of triumph, because you're going to go in with the comforting thought that you are creating great customer advocates, but at the same time, you're able to deliver revenue because you're implementing technology and a solution at the right time, at the right pace. Once you're able to cut through all this clutter of these false promises, the hype that we discussed, the false promises that abound around marketing technology today, because it's, even though marketing's been around forever, technology that drives marketing as it does today is a fairly new phenomenon, and it's really the last bastion within an organization that is going through a major transformation. But when you're able to do this, you'll find that this idea of win-win emerges, one that helps you, your CMO, achieve a near-term quarterly success and long-term growth. Before I go, I do want to leave you with some questions that we think are good to think about as you are contemplating where you're going to go from here in your marketing landscape, and what you're going to adopt and change in your marketing organization as you face this dilemma of Wall Street versus Main Street, this for going for love or money. So I would say ask yourself these 5 questions about your organization and your approach. The first is, what's the gap between what your customers expect, the love, what your CEO and board members expect, the money, and what your team believes is possible? We often don't think enough about the teams that we work with and the human factor. And this is critically important, especially as technology is becoming so much more important to drive marketing success. What are the gaps between customers, your CEO and board, and what your team believes is possible? So don't forget the team. How can you shift from playing defense to playing offense in meeting those expectations? So too often we find ourselves as marketers trying to catch up. We're either reacting to market conditions, to competitive conditions, to customer situations where we're having to jump because they're doing something. We really need to think about how can we get on the offensive and taking control of the situation, and not sitting there every day reacting and being defensive in our marketing approach. Where do you see the most hype and confusion in your world in the marketing technology discussion? And how can you avoid the next pitfall? Again, back to this constant almost fear of being left behind, because the technology landscape is changing so quickly, and so many applications are coming on the market every day. It can drive a marketer crazy. So how do you cut through the hype and the confusion around technology? And how much time do you spend managing technology versus using it to drive growth? Again, if you have to spend so much time thinking about it, investigating it, researching it, meeting with vendors, How much are you really using it to drive growth versus being a technology researcher? And lastly, something that I'd like to leave you with, and maybe the most important, is how can technology serve you better in your real mission? So, I ask people, step back, take a look at your marketing organization, take a look at the objectives you have as a marketing organization within your company, and how can you make technology serve you better in driving that real mission? At the end of the day, that's going to help you overcome this new dilemma of going for love or going for money. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you, Nick. That was incredible. I want to ask you a quick question afterwards. You're a human being. You live this. You have lived this for quite a while. Let's personalize this a little bit. Tell us about a time when you have been caught within that conflict where the pressure from either your boss or the board to turn a profit in the short term has conflicted with your desire or your team's desire to do more investment to create a dazzling customer experience. Tell us the story around one of those situations and how you handled it.
Well, I've got one. I've been in marketing for quite a long time, and this is not a new story, but I think it's indicative of how this dilemma is not new, but it has different approaches. And when I worked at a large telecommunications company, actually it was Sprint. I don't mind naming it. And when I went to Sprint, the idea of lead nurturing, of doing direct marketing to create a profile and then engage with that profile and get it to become a great customer and an advocate, that really didn't exist. We didn't have the technology back then to do the type of marketing automation, lead profiling, lead scoring, all those good things that we almost take for granted today. So when I was at Sprint, I was put in charge of creating basically the business division's first direct marketing and lead generation, lead building function. So we really kind of started from scratch. So that was a big investment. We talked to a lot of vendors, put together, kind of built from scratch, brought in call centers, you name it. Then along came my creative team, and trying to come up with ideas that we could do great marketing to engage these business customers and get them on board. Well, I had a huge demand to show an ROI on this. It was something brand new at Sprint. This idea of not doing just a quick sell, but it was building up over time, and that was a long-term investment. So I had sold that this isn't going to turn around tomorrow. This won't be direct revenue resulting tomorrow. But as we invested the money in this whole thing, the pressure became pretty big to show something real coming out of it. So this is where we went to creative and said, we need something really big. It's really going to drive attention, drive engagement, drive revenue. And we came up with this idea. Back then, it was all around 800 number portability, which was a big topic a number of years back. And we created life-size cardboard facades of what we considered the kind of the stereotypical IT guy or woman who was dealing with this idea of portability. And it was to get them to work with Sprint on a pretty massive scale within a business organization on this 800 number portability. We sent out hundreds and hundreds of these large, full-size cutouts that we thought customers would love, and they would put up in their offices, and it would have a big return because it was very large, very intrusive, and would cut through the clutter. And I thought it would be what I needed to show demand was increasing, and we could prove this investment was worthy. Unfortunately, the opposite happened, and we got incredible pushback. Letters, phone calls from people that received these life-size cardboard cutouts that we were wasting trees, we were being extremely insensitive. Why were we spending all this money? So here I went, out on a limb from a creative perspective to try to do something quick in order to gain some return on this big investment we were making that I had sold as long-term, but it wasn't being accepted as long-term. And I learned a valuable lesson that you have to stick to your guns, and you have to stick to what you're presenting and preaching, and keep reminding those that this is what you're able to do and what you can't do. Otherwise, you're going to get caught, as I did in that circumstance, of trying to do too much too quick against a strategy that was not meant to be quick.
Nick, I want you to take a moment, my last question today. think about the people that you have on your team, think about the marketers that have worked for you specifically in the past. Is there a difference between the performance of those marketers that you've worked with that are doing it for love versus those that you think are doing it at their core for money?
Well, I have certainly seen a change. The days, is like that example I just mentioned, those were the early days of bringing this whole idea of this money equation into being and justifying an expense with a return. And I think, even though we still deal with it today, it's not new. I think there are a lot more tools to it. I will say there was a naivety back then that, almost that it couldn't be done. And there was such a love for the creative and for the big idea with frankly, not much association with the return other than, creating a brand that would have appeal in the marketplace. I think that still exists. The people I work with today that versus those that I worked with many years ago, I wouldn't say have materially changed. I still believe that the good marketer still believes in the big idea and still works to get the big idea to come to life. But I think that same marketer knows that today, for a big idea to be successful, it's not just about awareness in the market and making a splash. It is about a return, and that return can be as simple as a message that resonates and gets somebody to make a click, all the way to investing $1 million in a piece of software or technology. There has to be measurable outcome. And I would like to think, because I sell technology, I would like to think that at the end of the day isn't an impediment to a good marketer. It arms the marketer to be even more effective and to show value, and that you don't have to be ashamed of, I've got a great idea that's going to cost a lot of money, and by the way, it's going to make a big impact, and I'm proud of that. So I'd like to think we've come a long way. We don't lose that creative edge and our creative desire, but we're now able to legitimize it because we know we can make the kind of impact we should be making as a good marketer with a great idea.
Nick, you and your team have been incredible. I've personally learned so much from you guys, and the feedback that I'm getting from IMA members across the world matches that. As we close, where can people learn more about you, your team, and the Oracle Marketing Cloud?
Well, for myself, happy to talk to anybody and anything I can do to help. I've been in the business a long time, so maybe I can provide some insight. You can reach me easiest at nick.bell@oracle.com. Pretty simple, nick.bell@oracle.com. For the Marketing Cloud, Oracle Marketing Cloud, the best place to find it, we just launched a brand new website about 3 months ago at oracle.com/Oracle Marketing Cloud. And that will give you everything you need to know about the Marketing Cloud and what we can do. It brought together about 4 independent sites of acquired brands that Oracle brought together to form the Marketing Cloud, as well as some Oracle applications from e-commerce to web content management. And that all now resides on our Oracle Marketing Cloud website. So that's a great place to go to find out more about what we really mean and what we're talking about here.
Nick Bell, Senior Director of Corporate Marketing for the Oracle Marketing Cloud. Nick, it's been my pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for making time.
Thank you, Dom. It's been great. Appreciate it.
IMA members, we are not done. Nick was our guest twice, and as we mentioned last week, his Director of Marketing for Social and Content, Chris Moody, who was our guest on episode 27, is coming back. We also have an amazing lineup of guests in our run-up to Impact 15 this September. Be looking for episodes from Ollie Gardner, the co-founder of Unbounce, coming up in the future. Stay tuned, IMA.
Ready to join the Internet Marketing Association? Membership is free at imanetwork.org/podcast. It takes less than 1 minute to gain access to research, education, and opportunities to move your career forward. Already a member? We'd love to hear your story. Introduce yourself at podcast@imanetwork.org for a chance to be featured on the show. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on I Am a Leader.